W1 Stop, Crown Stoics. The Stoic Blueprint. How to stop being a nice guy and become a good man. A step-by-step guide to building strength, confidence, and self-respect through Stoicism. If you're watching this today because you're tired of always putting everyone else first, tired of being taken for granted, or tired of feeling like your kindness is never appreciated, then this documentary is for you. I'm not here to tell you to become selfish, angry, or emotionally cold, because that's not what the Stoics taught. I'm here to help you become the kind of man who can be kind without being weak, generous without being used, and loving without losing himself. By the end of this documentary, you'll have a practical blueprint you can begin using today to become a stronger man. The first thing I want you to understand is that being a nice guy is not the same thing as being a good man. A nice guy often makes decisions because he's afraid of disappointing people, while a good man makes decisions based on his principles, even when those decisions are uncomfortable. That difference may seem small, but it changes every relationship, every opportunity, and every decision you'll ever make. Once you understand that difference, you'll begin seeing your own life from a completely new perspective. Maybe you've noticed yourself apologizing even when you've done nothing wrong, because you don't want anyone to be upset with you. Maybe you've said yes to things you never wanted to do, because saying no made you feel guilty. Maybe you've stayed in relationships, friendships, or situations long after they became unhealthy, because you were afraid of hurting someone else's feelings. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're not broken. But you do need a new blueprint. For years, you may have believed that if you loved harder, gave more, stayed patient longer, or sacrificed enough of yourself, people would eventually appreciate everything you did. Most of us were taught that this is what a good man does, so you probably never questioned it. The problem is that many men spend years trying to earn respect through sacrifice, only to discover that respect doesn't work that way. That's one of the first lessons the Stoics understood, and it's one of the first lessons we're going to apply together. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that your character belongs to you, while another person's opinion belongs to them. Think about that for a moment, because it has the power to change your entire life. If your confidence rises and falls based on how other people treat you, then you've handed them control over something that should never have belonged to them in the first place. A good man doesn't build his identity on approval, because he builds it on character. Throughout this documentary, I'm going to give you practical steps you can use in your everyday life, because information without action never creates transformation. At the end of every blueprint, I'll challenge you to practice one simple habit that strengthens your confidence, your discipline, and your self-respect. These aren't complicated techniques, because the Stoics believe that small actions, repeated consistently, shape extraordinary character. If you're willing to practice them, you'll begin changing long before anyone else notices. So don't worry about becoming perfect, because that's not the goal. Don't worry about changing overnight, because lasting change never happens that way. Your only job is to keep an open mind and be honest with yourself as we move through each blueprint together. The man you're capable of becoming is already within you, and today we're simply going to remove the habits that have been hiding him. Blueprint 1. Stop seeking approval. Let's begin with a habit that quietly controls more men than almost any other. Because if you can change this one area of your life, everything else becomes easier. The need for approval convinces you that your value depends on making other people happy, avoiding conflict, and keeping everyone comfortable. It feels like kindness on the surface, but underneath it is often driven by fear instead of confidence. The good news is that this habit can be changed, and today you're going to learn how. Blueprint 1. Stop seeking approval. Before you can become a good man, you have to stop allowing other people's opinions to determine how you see yourself. This isn't easy, because many of us spent years believing our value came from making everyone else happy. Maybe you avoid difficult conversations because you don't want anyone to be upset with you. Or maybe you constantly explain your decisions because you're afraid someone will misunderstand your intentions. If that's where you are today, I want you to know that you can change it. And it starts with one simple decision. Ask yourself this question as honestly as you can. How many decisions did you make this week because they reflected your values? And how many did you make because you were afraid someone would be disappointed? That question isn't meant to make you feel guilty, because it's meant to help you become aware of a habit that may have been controlling your life for years. You can't change what you refuse to recognize, and awareness is always the first step toward growth. The Stoics believed that your character should never depend on something another person controls. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that another person's opinion belongs to them, while his own actions belong to him. Think about how much freedom there is in that idea, because it means you no longer have to earn permission to respect yourself. Your integrity is built by your choices, not by someone else's approval. Modern psychology tells us that people-pleasing is often rooted in the fear of rejection, because the brain begins treating approval like a reward it must constantly chase. Every compliment feels like success, and every criticism feels like failure, even when you've done nothing wrong. Over time, your confidence becomes dependent on reactions you can't control. That's exhausting, and it's a burden you were never meant to carry. So here's your first Stoic exercise, and I want you to practice it this week. Find one situation where your first instinct is to explain yourself, apologize unnecessarily, or seek someone's approval before making a decision. Instead, speak respectfully, keep your answer simple, and resist the urge to justify yourself unless an explanation is truly needed. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the price of growth. You don't need to become rude to become confident, and you don't need to become selfish to protect your peace. A good man treats people with respect while also respecting himself, because those two things are not opposites. The strongest men aren't controlled by anger or ego, and they aren't controlled by the opinions of others either. They are guided by principles they refuse to compromise. As you practice this first blueprint, pay attention to what happens inside your own mind, because that's where the real battle takes place. You may feel guilty the first few times you stop seeking approval, but guilt doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it simply means you're breaking a habit that's been controlling you for years. Stay with the process, because every decision you make from conviction instead of fear is another step toward becoming the good man you're capable of being. Now that you've begun taking back control of your confidence, we're ready for the second blueprint. This next step teaches you how to say no without guilt, establish healthy boundaries, and stop sacrificing your self-respect just to keep everyone else comfortable. That's where many men experience their first real transformation, and it's where we'll continue building the man you want to become. Blueprint 2. Learn to say no without feeling guilty. Now that you've started breaking the habit of seeking approval, it's time to strengthen one of the most important skills a good man can develop. That skill is learning to say no without carrying guilt for the rest of the day. If saying no makes you feel selfish, uncomfortable, or anxious, you're not alone, because many good men struggle with exactly the same thing. The encouraging news is that boundaries are not something you're born with. They're something you build through practice. I want you to think about the last time you agreed to do something you didn't really want to do. Maybe you loaned money you couldn't afford to lose, canceled your own plans, stayed late at work when you were already exhausted, or kept saying yes to someone who only seemed to call when they needed something. Ask yourself one question. Did you say yes because it was the right thing to do, or because you were afraid of disappointing someone? Your answer will tell you whether your decision came from strength or fear. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they push people away. Healthy boundaries don't destroy good relationships because they strengthen them. They create honesty instead of resentment, respect instead of obligation, and peace instead of emotional exhaustion. The people who truly care about you may not always like your boundaries, but they will learn to respect them. The Stoics understood that your time is one of the most valuable things you possess, because once it's gone, you'll never get it back. That's why they encouraged people to live intentionally, instead of allowing every request, every opinion, and every distraction to control their lives. Every time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else, whether it's your family, your health, your goals, or your peace of mind. A good man chooses carefully because he understands the true cost of his time. Modern psychology teaches that people often struggle to set boundaries because they confuse temporary discomfort with doing something wrong. In reality, those are two very different things. Feeling uncomfortable doesn't automatically mean you're making a bad decision, because growth is often uncomfortable. Every healthy habit feels unfamiliar before it starts feeling natural. Here's your second Stoic exercise. This week, choose one request that doesn't align with your priorities, and politely decline it without making excuses or inventing a long explanation. Be respectful, be honest, and keep your answer simple. Then pay attention to what happens, because you'll probably discover that the conversation you feared is much easier than the one you imagined. You may notice something else beginning to change. As you become more comfortable protecting your time, you'll also become more aware of the people who genuinely respect you. Some people will appreciate your honesty, while others may become frustrated because they're no longer getting unlimited access to your energy. Don't let that discourage you, because boundaries don't reveal who your enemies are. They reveal who respects your values. Remember this whenever you feel guilty for protecting your peace. Saying no to something that violates your values is actually saying yes to the man you're becoming. Every healthy boundary strengthens your confidence. Every confident decision strengthens your character. And every step towards stronger character brings you closer to becoming a genuinely good man. In the next blueprint, we're going to focus on building a life with purpose, so your happiness no longer depends on another person's approval. Blueprint 3. Build a life that doesn't depend on anyone else. Now that you're learning to stop seeking approval and setting healthier boundaries, it's time to build something even more important. If your happiness depends entirely on another person, you'll always feel unstable, because you've placed your peace in someone else's hands. One disagreement, one rejection, or one breakup can leave you questioning your value. A good man builds a life that's so meaningful that a relationship becomes part of his life, not the purpose of it. I want you to ask yourself an honest question. If you weren't in a relationship today, would you still wake up excited about the life you're building? Think about your answer before you move on, because this question reveals whether you're chasing a person or pursuing a purpose. Your purpose should exist whether someone chooses to walk beside you or not. That's one of the strongest foundations you can ever build. The Stoics believe that every day should move you closer to becoming the person you're capable of becoming. They focused on improving their character, strengthening their discipline, expanding their knowledge, and serving a purpose greater than temporary pleasure. They didn't wait for someone else to motivate them because they understood that purpose comes from within. The same principle can transform your life today. Modern psychology confirms that people with a clear sense of purpose are generally more resilient during adversity, because their identity isn't built on a single relationship or circumstance. They still experience disappointment, grief, and rejection, but those experiences don't define who they are. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" That simple shift creates emotional strength that lasts far longer than temporary happiness. Here's something many men don't realize until much later in life. Confidence doesn't come from hearing someone tell you that you're enough. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself, one decision at a time. Every workout you finish, every book you complete, every skill you develop, every goal you accomplish, and every commitment you honor quietly builds evidence that you can trust yourself. That kind of confidence cannot be given to you because it must be earned through consistent action. Here's your third Stoic exercise, and I want you to begin today. Choose one area of your life that you've been neglecting because you've been too focused on everyone else. It could be your health, your finances, your career, your education, your spiritual life, or a dream you've kept putting off for years. Spend at least 30 minutes every day investing in that area, because every minute you invest in yourself is another brick in the foundation of the man you're becoming. Don't expect overnight transformation, because that's not how real growth works. Some days you'll feel motivated, and other days you won't want to do anything at all. On those difficult days, remember that discipline is more valuable than motivation, because motivation comes and goes, but discipline keeps moving, even when emotions change. That's why the Stoics valued consistency more than inspiration. As you continue building your purpose, you'll notice something unexpected beginning to happen. You'll spend less time worrying about who isn't calling, who isn't texting, or who doesn't appreciate you, because your attention will be focused on becoming a better man instead of chasing validation. That's real freedom, and it's something no one can take away from you. In our next blueprint, we're going to strengthen that freedom even further by learning how to master your emotions instead of allowing your emotions to master you. Blueprint 4. Master your emotions before they master you. If you've made it this far, you've already started changing the way you think. But now we have to change the way you respond. This blueprint isn't about pretending you don't have emotions, because every man experiences disappointment, anger, fear, and sadness. The difference is that a good man refuses to let those emotions make his decisions for him. Emotional control isn't about feeling less. It's about responding with wisdom instead of reacting on impulse. Think about the last time someone disrespected you, ignored your message, criticized you, or said something that immediately made your blood pressure rise. What happened next? Did you react immediately? Or did you pause long enough to decide what kind of man you wanted to be in that moment? That pause may only last a few seconds, but those few seconds can change the direction of your entire life. The Stoics believe there is a space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. In that space lives your character, your discipline, and your freedom. Most people never use that space because they allow anger, pride, fear, or frustration to make their decisions. A good man protects that space because he knows one emotional reaction can create consequences that last for years. Modern psychology supports this idea because intense emotions temporarily reduce your ability to think clearly. When you're angry, embarrassed, or hurt, your brain naturally pushes you toward immediate action instead of thoughtful judgment. That's why people often send messages they regret, say words they can't take back, or make decisions they wish they could undo. Learning to pause gives your thinking mind time to catch up with your emotions. Here's something I want you to remember for the rest of your life. You don't have to answer every text immediately. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to defend yourself against every accusation, correct every misunderstanding, or prove your value to every person who questions you. Sometimes the strongest response is to remain calm, think clearly, and choose your next move instead of reacting to someone else's emotions. Here's your fourth Stoic exercise. The next time someone says or does something that upsets you, don't respond immediately unless you absolutely have to. Take a slow breath, count to 10, go for a short walk, or simply tell yourself, "I'll think about this first." You're not avoiding the situation because you're making sure your character stays in control instead of your emotions. At first, people may be surprised by your new calmness because they're used to getting an immediate reaction from you. Some may even try harder to provoke you because your old reactions gave them exactly what they expected. Don't mistake that for failure because it's actually proof that you're changing. Every time you remain composed under pressure, you're strengthening a habit that will serve you for the rest of your life. Remember, mastering your emotions doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means your anger serves your principles instead of controlling them. Your fear no longer dictates your choices, and your peace is no longer dependent on another person's behavior. That's real strength, and it's one of the greatest gifts Stoicism can offer you. In the next blueprint, we'll learn how to let people walk away without chasing them, begging them, or losing yourself in the process. Blueprint 5. Let people walk away without chasing them. This may be the hardest blueprint in this entire documentary because it asks you to let go of something you've probably been holding on to for years. If you've ever begged someone to stay, repeatedly texted someone who stopped responding, or spent months trying to convince someone to love or respect you, I want you to know you're not alone. Many good men have done the same thing because they believed love could be earned through persistence. Today, we're going to replace that belief with something much healthier. Here's the truth that changed my life, and I hope it changes yours. You cannot make another person love you, respect you, choose you, or remain loyal to you. You can influence people through your actions, but you cannot control their decisions. The moment you accept that reality is the moment you stop carrying a burden that was never yours to carry. One of the greatest lessons the Stoics ever taught is the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. You can control your words, your actions, your effort, your discipline, and your character. You cannot control another person's feelings, choices, priorities, or level of commitment. The more you fight against that truth, the more frustrated and exhausted you'll become. Modern psychology supports this idea because people often become emotionally attached to outcomes they cannot influence. They replay conversations in their minds, wonder what they could have said differently, and blame themselves for decisions that belong to someone else. Eventually, their life becomes centered around changing another person's mind instead of improving themselves. That's not love because it's emotional captivity. If someone decides to leave your life, don't immediately ask yourself, how do I get them back? Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Maybe there are areas where you genuinely need to grow, and if so, embrace that growth. But don't confuse personal growth with believing you can force someone to return. Your responsibility is to become a better man, not to control another person's journey. Here's your 5th Stoic exercise. Think of one person whose approval you've been chasing, or whose decision has been controlling your emotions. For the next 7 days, stop trying to change their mind. Instead, use that same time and energy to improve one area of your own life. Whether that's your health, your career, your finances, your faith, or your character. Every minute you stop chasing someone else becomes a minute invested in becoming the man you're capable of being. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It doesn't mean you become bitter or emotionally unavailable. It simply means you stop believing that your happiness depends on someone making the choices you want them to make. That's emotional freedom, and once you experience it, you'll never want to go back to living any other way. Always remember this. The people who truly belong in your life should never require you to abandon your values just to keep them there. A good man loves deeply, forgives when appropriate, and treats others with respect. But he never sacrifices his self-respect to avoid being alone. In our final blueprint, we're going to bring everything together and show you how to live every day as a man guided by principles instead of emotions, fear, or approval. Blueprint 6. Live by principles instead of feelings. You've come a long way since the beginning of this documentary. You've started letting go of the need for approval. You've learned to set healthier boundaries. You've begun building a purpose that doesn't depend on another person. You've practiced controlling your emotions instead of reacting to them. And you've learned to stop chasing people who have already made their decision. Now it's time to bring everything together, because none of these lessons will last unless they're built on something stronger than emotion. That something is your principles. Let me ask you one final question before we finish this journey together. What kind of man do you want to be when life becomes difficult? It's easy to be patient when everything is going your way. and it's easy to be kind when everyone treats you well. Your character isn't revealed during easy moments because it's revealed when you're disappointed, rejected, criticized, or tempted to become someone you're not. That's when your principles become more important than your feelings. The Stoics believe that a meaningful life isn't measured by how much money you earn, how many people admire you, or how many relationships you have. It's measured by the quality of your character and your willingness to live according to your values every single day. They understood that emotions change from hour to hour, but principles remain steady through every season of life. That's why they trained themselves to follow wisdom instead of impulse. Here's something I want you to remember every morning before you leave your house. You cannot control whether people appreciate you, but you can control whether you act with integrity. You cannot control whether someone stays loyal to you, but you can control whether you remain loyal to your values. You cannot control whether life feels fair, but you can control whether you meet every challenge with courage, discipline, and self-respect. That's where real confidence is born. So here's your final Stoic exercise, and I hope you'll practice it for the rest of your life. Before making an important decision, stop and ask yourself one simple question. Am I making this decision because it aligns with my principles, or because I'm reacting to fear, guilt, anger, loneliness, or the need for someone else's approval? If your decision comes from your principles, move forward with confidence. If it comes from fear, pause until your mind becomes clear. As you continue applying these blueprints, don't expect everyone around you to understand the changes you're making. Some people will appreciate the stronger, calmer, and more confident man you're becoming. Others may become uncomfortable because they benefited from the version of you that never said no, never challenged disrespect, and always put everyone else first. Don't let that stop your growth, because your responsibility is not to make everyone comfortable. It's to become the man you know you're capable of becoming. Remember, becoming a good man isn't something you accomplish once and never think about again. It's a decision you make every morning when you wake up, and every evening before you go to bed. Some days you'll succeed, and some days you'll make mistakes. When that happens, don't quit, because progress has never required perfection. It only requires the willingness to keep improving. Let's review the blueprint you've built together. Stop seeking approval because your worth doesn't come from another person's opinion. Learn to say no because healthy boundaries protect your peace. Build a purpose because your identity should never depend on a relationship. Master your emotions because reactions create regret while discipline creates respect. Let people walk away because you can't control their choices. Finally, live by your principles because character will always outlast feelings. If you apply these 6 blueprints consistently, your life will begin changing in ways you may not notice at first. You'll become calmer under pressure, more confident in your decisions, and more comfortable walking away from what no longer serves your growth. Most importantly, you'll stop asking, "How do I get people to value me?" and start asking, "How do I become a man I value?" That's the question that changes everything. If this documentary helped you see yourself in a new way, I'd appreciate you liking this video so it can reach another man who needs to hear these lessons. Subscribe to MW One Stop Crown Stoics if you're committed to mastering your mind, strengthening your character, and applying timeless Stoic wisdom to everyday life. And tell me in the comments, which blueprint are you going to start practicing today, and why? Until next time, remember this: you don't become a good man by trying to please everyone around you. You become a good man by honoring your principles, mastering your mind, and refusing to abandon yourself for anyone. Master your mind, wear the crown. After the documentary, your 30-day Stoic challenge. Before you leave, I want to challenge you to do something that could genuinely change your life. Watching a documentary doesn't make you a better man, because knowledge without action is only entertainment. The 6 blueprints you've learned today are only valuable if you begin applying them when this video ends. So for the next 30 days, I want you to make one decision every day that reflects the man you're trying to become, instead of the man you're trying to leave behind. During the first week, focus only on approval. Every time you catch yourself seeking permission, apologizing unnecessarily, or worrying too much about what someone else thinks, stop for a moment and remind yourself that your character is more important than their opinion. Don't criticize yourself when you slip, because awareness is part of the process. Every time you notice the habit, you're becoming more conscious than you were the day before. During the second week, strengthen your boundaries. Practice saying no when something doesn't align with your values, your priorities, or your responsibilities. Be respectful, be honest, and be confident. But don't feel pressured to defend every decision you make. A simple, respectful answer is often enough. During the third week, invest in yourself every single day. Read something that challenges your thinking. Exercise even when you don't feel like it. Learn a new skill, improve your finances, or spend time building a future you'll be proud of. Stop waiting for motivation, because discipline is what creates lasting change. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your confidence. During the fourth week, practice emotional discipline. When life frustrates you, don't rush to react. Pause before speaking, think before responding, and ask yourself, will this decision move me closer to the man I want to become? Most regrets happen in moments of emotional reaction, while most breakthroughs happen in moments of thoughtful restraint. At the end of those 30 days, don't measure your success by whether other people treated you differently. Measure it by whether you treated yourself differently. Are you stronger than you were a month ago? Are you calmer under pressure? Are your decisions guided more by principles than by fear? If the answer is yes, then you're already becoming the good man you set out to become. Remember, Stoicism isn't something you practice only when life is easy. It's something you live when life becomes difficult. Every challenge is another opportunity to strengthen your patience, your courage, your discipline, and your character. That's how ordinary men become extraordinary, not overnight, but one principled decision at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope these blueprints don't just inspire you for a few hours, but stay with you for years to come. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop becoming the man you know you're capable of being. Until next time, master your mind, wear the crown,